Welcome. Zach Barnes here. Welcome back to Saucy Sounds. And in today's video lesson, I want to go over chord relationships. And in this particular video, I want to talk about some of the fundamental ones that you see in diatonic harmony. So in the last module, we talked about relative minors and relative majors. And what's really cool about that is that that pattern actually exists a lot in diatonic harmony. So what I mean by diatonic harmony, I'm just talking about the basic subset of harmony given to us in a scale, right? We've got major, minor, minor, major or dominant, depending on how you look at it, minor, half diminished, major. And so when we look at that, we have a lot of relative major and minors in that. So we talked about relative major and minors, and one of those formulas I said 16, and so I was talking about how the 1 and the 6 are related. Well, the reality is there's actually more relationships there. So let's talk about those relationships, and this will really help simplify just kind of basic generic harmony. So we've got the 1, which is C major, and then we've got the 6, they're related. And what I mean by related is they share the exact same notes. Okay, 1 and 6 are related. So you can take a C chord, which is the 1, and then you can place it over top the 6. And that applies for any scale. So if I'm in the key of F, we can take the 1 and we can put it over the 6. Okay, so 1 and 6 are cousins. You can always interchange them, right? We talked about that in the last video. Now, the next step is looking at 2 and 4. So 2 is D minor and 4 is F major. And that's because D and F are relative major and minors. They're cousins, they're related. So F major, if we take F major scale and go to the 6th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we find that D is the relative minor to F major. So in the key of C, the 1st degree is C major, the 2nd degree is D minor, 3rd degree is E minor, 4th degree is F major. And so if we look here, F major and D minor, that relative minor and major relationship exists inside the key of C. So that's where I get the formula for 24. So 2 and 4 are related. So we've got 1 and 6. We've got 2 and 4, or 4 and 2, whichever one you think about it. So let's do it from the major. So we got 1 and 6. We have 4 and 2. We also have 5 and 3. Okay? And that's really important to know. So the reason why I think that's such a big deal is that kind of condenses and simplifies the basic harmony into like, what is that, 1, 2, 3 chords for those. So rather than having to individually remember, C, D, E, F, G, which you still should, it's just that you're able to make the connection that, hey, if I'm on the 4, it's related to the 2. And so as a piano player, we're constantly seeing things divided, right? Like our right hand's playing something, our left hand's playing something, and that's unique to piano, right? If you're playing guitar, your left hand does all the chords. If you're playing like a brass or wind instrument, well, you can't play chords. So when you're playing piano, we have a weird, I wouldn't say weird, but we have a distinct, one of the distinct functionalities of playing piano is that you're seeing chords in a different fashion, very visual based, and you see them divided and split, and you're usually playing either one side or both sides. And so what I mean by that is, if we look at F major, and then we look at D minor, as a piano player, the left hand usually carries the bass note, and the right hand carries the chord. And so we have this dichotomous situation where we're seeing it split. So even though this is D minor, our right hand looks just like an F major triad. And so we have to get used to thinking of our chords rootless. Now, every musician has the ability to think of things rootless. It's just in the way that we apply it. And piano is very distinct in the fact that we can actually see it being like cut in half, so to speak. So the reason why I want to break down these chord relationships is that these chord relationships are huge in terms of simplifying the piano and kind of finding, I guess, patterns or micro patterns within the piano. So how we apply that in music, if we have, let's say our chord pattern is 1, 6, 4, 2, 1, okay, just for this example. Now, when we're going from the 1 and the 6, the reason why it's important to know these relationships is that, again, it simplifies the process. And with piano, we want to be very ergonomic and efficient. So it's just knowing that, hey, 1 and 6 are related, so I actually don't have to change my right hand at all. This C major triad is going to stay there no matter what, because it's going to be modified by the bass note. That's what's so special about these relationships. So you can focus on playing C, and it still fits because 1/6, because now it becomes C major triad to A minor 7. And then we switch to the 4, which is F, and it's the same as the 2. So what's nice about that is it stops your brain from having to overload thinking about all these switches happening simultaneously, when in reality you can just focus on one type of chord, or you can focus on one type of fingering. So I highly recommend memorizing as many micro relationships as you can, because there's a lot. Inside, the more notes that you have, the more chords are nested inside of it. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. We've got C major triad, but then when we add the A to go to the A minor 7, the relative minor, well, if you notice, the C major triad is still rested inside there. Now, if we go back and do an F major 9, what's interesting is you have F major triad, you have A minor triad, and you have C major triad. Now that's so important to understand, because once again, as a piano player, it's very often that you're going to see and play chords broken up into pieces. So you could have an F in the bass and then play A minor in the right hand, and that's F major triad, or F major 7, even though your right hand's only playing A minor triad. Now if I played C major, that's still an F major 7 chord. So I've got a sus2 in there, but it's still an F major 7 chord. And so again, it's broken up. And that's very unique to piano in the sense of seeing chords in such a weird broken fashion. So what that does is when you're playing rootless, it adds for a lot of ambiguity. So you could be holding a C major triad in the right hand, or in your left hand, and then you can define it by your right hand. So if I have a C major triad in my left hand, I can define it with the notes that I'm playing. That's A minor, right? I'm playing C major triad in my left hand, but I'm defining it with my right hand by playing the bass note through the lead melody. Right? Now if I change up my right hand, I can now define that left chord with to be C major. It's very much happier sound versus the. Now I can also go F major with that. So that's really important to understand the relationships with chords, because a lot of times you're going to be playing them broken up. It's not going to be in root position. Rarely am I playing chords in root position. So just understand, back to the original point, I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but C, right, 1 and 6, 2, 4 and 2, 5 and 3. And all that means is you can go any scale. So let's go to the scale of A. 5 and 3 are related. So we can play A, so we're on the 5, which would be E, right? We're in the key of A. So let's switch this to the key of A real quick. We're in the key of A. So the 5th note in A is E. So 5 and 3 are the same. And then we can go to 1, 6, 5, 3, 4, 2, back to the 1. And if you notice, the bass note changed every time, but the right hand did not. And that's because the chords are related. They're relative major and minor, so I did not have to change the chord, but I could still get a different chord by changing the bass note. Again, 1, 1. So my right hand stayed exactly the same. Right? And then we go to the 5. Now we go to the 4. Okay? So I hope this makes sense. If it's kind of confusing, drop a comment and I'll just redo the lesson. But again, this is just trying to just touch on the basics of chord relationships. This isn't like a full-on comprehensive. I'm going to have more modules going over each relationship specifically, but I just wanted to throw out the idea of understanding in piano, we have the unique ability to see the chords kind of mix and match with inside of each other. So again, when you look at C major, 1 in any key, so we're going to keep A, 1 and 6 are related, 5 and 3 are related, 4 and 2 are related. And there's more relationships, but again, to keep this video simple and just to kind of expose you to the idea of chord relationships. Practice that, memorize those formulas. Again, 1 and 6, 4 and 2, 5 and 3. Okay, memorize those relationships, practice them in any key you want. And again, I'm referring to them as numbers because that's transposable. If I say the direct chord, then I'm stuck in that key. But if I say numbers like 1 and 6, well, 1 can be anything. So if we're in the key of B flat, 1 is B flat, which means 6 is G. So I can take that B flat and put it over the 6. It's going to work out just fine. I can take the 5 and 3. We're in the key of B flat. 5 is F. And then I can take that and put that over the 3. So really important to understand these relationships. The more you understand these relationships, the more flexible you'll be able to play. A lot of times when you're playing rootless, your left hand isn't changing as much as you think it is because that's actually being defined by the bass note or what you're doing in your right hand. And that'll give you a huge advantage. So I can, for instance, take this one voicing of B flat major 6, and I can, if let's say we're playing a standard where I've got, we're going from 1 to 6, right? So I did 1, 3, 6, right? Well, what's cool about that is my right hand, it just went back and forth. So even though it sounds different because it is, but the work that I'm doing in my hand is simplified. And so that's how, as a piano player, you start to get more proficient. It's just understanding the relationships and understanding that you don't have to do as much moving as you think, or maybe as it sounds like you are. And you start learning how to let the bass note, you understand the importance how the bass note defines the chord, and then knowing that, hey, you can mix and match these, right? So I'll leave you guys with that. I'm going to write down the relationships in the link in the description below. If you want more lessons, hop over to website saucysounds.com. I've got courses a la Netflix style where you can get unlimited access to all the different lessons. So I hope to see you guys there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.